welcome back to the second part of the discussion. So, in the previous part, in the first part, we were discussing about Pandit Ayodhi Tasar largely and his key pioneering interventions in the modernization and social transformations in Tamilagam in 19th century itself. And that makes him a pioneer of Renaissance and modernity in Tamilagam. I could only touch upon certain important historical moments and acts by Pandita Avargal, but you can read more, especially in English. As Tamil people, most of you are from the Tamil background, so you can read the Tamil originals. That's I envy you. Original, the Dalit Sahitya Academy, they have published it. And also in V. Geeta and S.V. Rajadurai, they have done a lot of critical writings and published books, V. Geeta and S.V. Rajadurai, towards the non-Brahmin millennium, Ayodhi Tasar to Periyar. And though Periyar is celebrated as the lead figure of the self-respect movement and Dravidian movement in general, Dravida Kazhagam in general. It's actually, if you read more and go into the 19th century origins, it's basically Pandita Ayodhi Tasar Avargal. So V. Geeta and S.V. Rajadurai, the two books in English on Pandita Ayodhi Tasar, and Professor G. Aloysius, Kadana Aloysius' own work on Pandit Ayodhi Tasar and the neo-Buddhist movement in Tamil Nadu during the colonial British era. That book is also available in English language. Perhaps you can tell me more on the latest developments. And it was also said that Professor Aloysius is trying to translate the whole of his writing into Pandita's writing in English language. I hope that's also going on, and we may soon get a taste of Tasar's own words in English language soon. Let us hope that. So from the pioneer of social change in South India, who linked it to the Sangam legacy and the greater Tamil country, Ayodhi Tasar, let us move on to the Kerala context, which is actually the Chera land is called Kerala. What is referred to in Tamil Changam as the Chera Muppans and their kingdom, that is today's Kerala. So I was talking about ancient category of the Chera, Chola, Pandya. They were the Moventhas, or the three chief kingdoms. Later you also find post 6th century, you find Pallava also in that picture. So Kerala was the Chera land. And till the 7th and 8th century, it was largely Jain and Buddhist and Ajivaka. And also by the 7th and 8th century, Islam has also reached Kerala and the southern coast. And the first mosque outside Arabia is supposed to be in Kerala, in Kodungalur. In Kodungalur or Muchiri Pattanam or Vanchi, you have the Cheraman Palli, the Cheraman Perumals. They were called the Cheraman Perumals, the rulers. And the Cheraman Palli is in Vanchi or Kodungalur. And also Kerala have the Christian legacy. The Christians were here, at least from the sea common era. It's also said, argued by many scholars, that when the Tirukural was in composition, Tirukural by Tiruvalluvar, which I mentioned as the key text of ancient Tamil literature and Sangam literature, which is called the Bible of the Tamils. And when Tirukural was in composition in early Common Era in South India, perhaps it happened in towards the southernmost corner of the peninsula, Tiruvalluvar. There are many claims, but mostly in Kanyakumari or Tirunelveli district that is attributed to be the country of the Valluva. When it was in composition, it is said that the apostles of Christ, they have also reached South India. So the concern on love and ethics, the love ethics paradigm that is nurtured by the Kural, by the Valluva, is also informed by the Christian and Judaistic kind of traditions as well. That kind of interpretations are also there. Anyway, the Quran is a polyphonic text, and the Quran has influenced generations of scholars and social leaders in South India, from Ayodhidasa Pandita, from Kandapan. His grandfather himself was instrumental in the recovery and publication of the original verses of Quran. Till then, it was not completely available. So many verses were recovered because of the accidental episode involving Kandapan and his British friends. So the Quran influenced all the social reformers in South India, and the Guru, Narayana Guru, Sri Narayana Guru in Kerala is no exception. The Guru was keenly influenced by the Quran, and he translated the Quran. That is the astonishing fact about his Tamil camaraderie, his Tamil allegiance, or his Tamil rootedness. He was rooted in the South Indian Siddha tradition itself. He wrote the Pambatti Chindu after the Pambatti Chittar of Tamilagam. He was with the Chitta, the Siddha kind of practitioners and the mystics of Tamilagam. He was traveling through Tamilagam in his formative wandering years. As a wandering monk, he was traveling extensively through the Tamil country. On walking tours, he was in walking tours to these greater regions. His students, like Dharmatirtha, one of his students, he used to walk on foot to North India. He has made a walking tour to North India and to Punjab, and then he crossed the border to in colonial times in the 1940s. The disciple of Narayana Guru, Dharmatirtha, he went on a walking tour from Kerala to North India, to Punjab, then to Lahore in Pakistan. And from Pakistan, Swami Dharmatirtha, later he became Swami John Dharmatirtha, actually manifesting the pluralistic philosophy of Narayana Guru. He embraced Christianity towards the end of his life, and he preached the gospel of the Guru as a Christian kind of monk. So he was then called John. So he's completely called Swami John Dharmatirtha, a lead disciple of the Guru, who composed and published the history and the menace of Hindu imperialism. That is a text, 1942 text by Swami John Dharmatirtha. So he published that from Lahore after his long walking tour there. So the Guru was the pioneer of this kind of, say, transcontinental. But Guru was only, he was traveling only in South India to Tamilagam. Tamilagam was within his heart, like Stalin talking about Muchidipattanam is within our heart, said Stalin recently. So according to the life practice and the travels of the Guru, Tamilagam was within his heart, or he was within the greater Tamilagam or the Tamil country. So he was wandering through Tamilagam. See, he met all those siddhas and the social revolutionaries there. He was with Ramana Maharshi and Tagore and others. They have Gandhiji and Tagore. They came to Kerala to his Varkala ashram and met him. Tagore has even made an observation that he has never seen such a man of spiritual prowess like Narayana Guru of Kerala. And anyone equal to Narayana Guru in Kerala during his lifetime, because he was a globetrotter. A globe-trotting mystic was Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore, Gurudev. So Gurudev came to meet Gurudevan in Kerala in his ashram and had a long conversation and a kind of very graceful kind of meditative kind of embrace. They were just looking at each other. Ramana Maharshi and Guru, they were also, they never spoke, but they met and they were communicating through their eyes or some kind of energy packets. They never spoke. They never verbally spoke, but they were having some kind of greater meditative kind of communion. So that kind of a figure is the Guru. And the Guru has, like Baba Sahib, single-handedly recovering the legacy of Buddhism in the whole of India, in Western India in particular, later. Guru single-handedly, he tried to, along with his disciples, and also there were contemporaries and pioneers. The pioneers also came from the Tamil kind of culture, because Kerala Renaissance itself began with the Tamil kind of connection through Ayya Vaikuntha. Ayya Vaikuntha Swami or Ayya Vaikuntha, he was from Nanjinad. Then it was part of the Kanyakumari kind of district earlier. Nanjinad, it was part of Travancore earlier. And now I think it has gone to the Kanyakumari district. So anyway, from that emerged Ayya Vaikuntha, from the Nadar community, and the Nadar women's struggle for breast clothes, covering their breasts in public, because it was a dehumanizing practice of caste. It was a casteist humiliation pushed on the Buddhist Bahujans of India. They were forced to give taxes on their head and breasts, and plenty of hundreds and hundreds of casteist patriarchal taxes were enforced on the Avarna or the Panchama, those who were outside the Chaturvarnya fold of Varnashrama Dharma Hinduism. It began with the Siddha tradition. Again, like Pandit Ayodhi Dasa, the Siddha tradition of Tamilagam, the Shaiva Siddhanta in particular, and also the Vaishnavite Bhakti Siddha traditions have contributed to the development of protest, social protest and social change through Ayya Vaikuntha. Early 19th century, when the missionaries, in the context again of missionary intervention, Western imperial intervention of British colonialism has been very influential and significant in this regard. So when the missionaries intervened, these people have emerged. The Nadar women protested for their human rights to wear the breast clothes in public, and a series of struggles from the 1810s to 20s to 1850s. Narayana Guru was born in 1856 in Champarandi. Now it is in the Trivandrum district, the southernmost district, close to the Tamil country. And beyond that, it is Nanjinad, Kanyakumari, and Tirunelveli district, close to that. And he was not officially initiated into Tamil language. He was speaking Malayalam in their neighborhood, and also he was initiated into Sanskritic studies. Then it was a Hinduized Sanskritic Kudipalli Kudam, Palli Kudam, and Palli and Palli Kudam, and Kudipalli Kudam, Eluthupalli kind of tradition, which was originally a Buddhist tradition, but by the Middle Ages, by the 15th and 16th century, it was all made into caste Hindu Brahmanical system. Only the caste Hindus were allowed to be the ashans or the masters in the traditional Kalari system or the Kudipalli Kudam or Eluthupalli tradition of writing there. So he was educated in a place called Kayangulam, north of Trivandrum, now in Alappuzha, that region. So in Kayangulam, he was staying in Puthupalli in a household, Irava household called, he was from that Irava untouchable or Avarna background. Now it is considered as an other backward community, OBC community. They were part of the Avarna or the Panchama. Like if you use the term from Ayodhitasa, the Panchama kind of background. So they were not officially allowed for education, but somehow he moved north, and somehow he got this Sanskritic education that was available then. And his higher education was in Sanskrit. So he was a scholar in both Malayalam and Sanskrit. But somehow, mysteriously, enigmatically, it is said that about the Guru that he learned Tamil as if with a kind of amazing insight, amazing kind of, say, a hereditary kind of instinct, instinctually, naturally, quite naturally, like children picking up their so-called first language or mother tongue. The Guru picked up Tamil instinctively through his the so-called reflexes, linguistic reflexes. Somehow he picked up Tamil and he read. He was just reading it. He was reading and studying. And he was passing through that Trivandrum city in Petai. There was a Tamil bookstore. A Tamil bookstore was there. So in that bookshop, his friend was there. So he went there and he sat along with his friend. And when the shopkeeper left for some other jobs and duties, he was in charge of the shop. So he had to sit long hours within that Tamil bookshop in Trivandrum in Petai. And he read. He completed some hundreds and hundreds of books were there. So he completed all those books within a few days. Within a few weeks, it is said. Many biographers have written about that. So that's how, through reading and meditation, contemplation and recitation, he read it all. And he was such a brilliant child that he was remembering it all. The whole of Changam literature that was available then in print. In 18th century. This happened in 1870s. So then whatever was available, not many works were in print then, but whatever was available then, it was imbibed by the Guru. So that's how he learned the basics, reading and writing. And speaking and listening, he went out himself into those long journeys into Tamilagam. He was on a walking tour to Madurai. He walked all the way to this Dhanushkodi and all those to Kanyakumari and all those Puhar and Kanchipuram he has visited. So it's all on a walking tour. So he was walking and talking and walking the talking also. So he was meeting the common people of Tamilagam and he was learning the language directly from the speaking and listening was improved by the Guru through his walking tour. So actually the Tamil Changam literature, Tirukural in particular, Tirukural has prompted, lured the Guru into the heart of the Tamil country. So otherwise, no one can venture out into that kind of a challenging journey in those times, in 19th century. This happened towards the end of the 19th century, in 1870s and 1880s. He was wandering. And his meditation ground was near Kanyakumari. It's near Swamithopu of Ayya Vaikuntha. But they never met because Ayya passed away. When Guru was in childhood, Ayya passed away in the 1850s and 60s. He passed away. So they never got a chance to meet each other. But through the disciple and friend of Ayya Vaikuntha, that is called Taikad Ayya, Ayya of Taikad. He was a resident of the British residency at Taikad in Trivandrum. That's why he's called Taikad Ayya. He was a manager of the British residency. So again, like Kandapan, the grandfather of Pandidar, this Taikad Ayya, he was close to the British people. He was also a Siddha practitioner. So the Siddha tradition of Ayya Vaikuntha, the Siddha tradition, both Shaivite and Vaishnavite kind of affiliations and disguises were there. That's there in the strategic disguise as Narayana Guru. A Vaishnavite disguise, that's also with the Guru. But they were more than that. They were breaking the barriers of the Bhakti cult or the Siddha cult and all. But the rootedness of the Siddha tradition, the Valluvar tradition, the Tiruvalluvar tradition, the Pandit tradition, that was there within them. And Taikad Ayya taught many things to Chattambi Swamigal and Narayana Guru. Chattambi Swamigal was an elder He was from the Nair community of the so-called Malayali Shudras then. And Guru was from the Avarna Panchama section of the Irava people then. Irava means the people of the Iram. Iram is an ancient Tamil word that represents the intertwinedness. Iram, Irachernnathu. Iram, Irugi, Adupamullathu, Iram. Means the Sangham. In Sanskrit, it is equal to, the Tamil word is an equivalent to the Sangham in Sanskrit. What is Sanghaditam, or what is intertwined, intermingled, like as if in a weaving, or as if in the fibers of nature. That is Iram. So Iravars are actually heirs to the ancient Buddhist legacy of Tamilagam, of the Chera land. They are the Sanghakaras of Chera land. And Chera also means those who join the Sangha. Chera people, the Cherama people, or the Pulaya people, and the Paraya people, and the other Dalits, other Panchamas, the most downtrodden people of Kerala today. They were also heir to the Buddhist legacy. The Cherama term itself means the people who join, Cherunavar, Cheramar, those who join the Sangha, those who join the Iram, Iravar and Cheramar, and so on and so forth. But they have, because of this Brahmanical bhakti cults, Shaivism and Vaishnavism in particular, the people have lost their legacies, but it was somehow in disguised forms, in certain tantric forms and Vajrayana forms of Buddhism, survived to the 16th and 17th century. That's what you find. Then it got Shaivized also. The Shaiva Siddhanta also mingled with the Vajrayana occult practices of Tantric Buddhism. So then you have the Shaiva Siddhanta. So the Shaiva Siddhas were there, so that you will find the Shaiva and Vaishnava Chitta tradition you find in Ayavaikuntha and also in Taikalaya. So Guru actually imbibed many things from this, and also through his sojourns in Tamilagam, he learned many things directly from the Tamil Siddhas and medical practitioners and philosophers, rural philosophers they were, but he was learning many things, and he was reading new versions of the Quran, and he translated. He was the first major translator of the Quran in 19th century. Towards the end of the 19th century, he translated the Quran. And unfortunately, some 40, 50 Qurans are now available in translation. Beautiful translation. The Kadavul Vazhthu and all. Agaramam Izhuthu Adiyam Ella Izhuthinum Lokathinu Eganam Adi Bhagavan. He has made that beautiful translation akin to Tamil, very close to Tamil. And Guru's diction, his literary language, his literary kind of style and idiom, it's also deeply enriched and embedded on the bedrock of the Tamil culture, not on the Sanskritic model, but in majority of his words. Unfortunately, after the 16th century, everything has become Sanskritized in Kerala. But if even today, if you read the clarity of the language of the Guru, you find that it's all coming from the ancient Tamil roots, the Tamil usages, the Dravida or Dramida kind of, or Tamila kind of foundation is important and vital as far as the linguistic idiom and the literary style and diction of the Guru is concerned. So he has translated the Quran, and he has also translated some of the later Shaivite kind of works, Oluvilodukam, that Kannudaya Vellala's work. Oluvilodukam is also translated, but unfortunately only 2 stanzas are now available. That long work was translated. Ramana Maharshi himself tried to translate that. So we have some British and other English translations also. So Guru tried to translate Oluvil Odukam as well, and not just a Quran. So that shows his keen interest. And then he composed, Guru's works can be generally classified into 3-4 categories. It's all mostly in verse, because that was the form of poetry and also philosophy and mysticism during his time in 19th century. So that was the education also they got. They were into classical Sanskrit and also into this ancient Tamil kind of poetry, Pazhampattugal, Tamil Pattugal, Pazham Tamil Pattugal. That was the tradition. So Ayya Vaikunthar also used the Ammana Pattugal tradition. The Pambati Chittar used another tradition of the Pambatis, and in the strong influence of the Pambati Chittar of Tamilagam, he was a Chitta saint of Tamilagam. Guru has composed something called Pambati Chind, a poem called Pambati Chind. But unfortunately, later it was termed as Kundalini Pat. Later, some of the Sanskritized people, some of the elitist exclusivists, they have renamed the title into something called Kundalini Pat. But Kundalini and Kundalini Yoga, nothing is mentioned there in the Pata. It's words written in Dravidian style, in the Tamil style, in the exact manner of Pambati Chittar of Tamilagam, where the Guru appeals to a snake, a serpent, to come up, to emerge, to rise and sing, to rise and speak. It's a call for rising up and speaking to authority, speaking truth to power. That is the call. So it's actually a plea by the Guru to the people, the subdued people, the oppressed classes in society, the people who are dehumanized and rendered into animals, rendered into reptiles, those who are creeping on the ground, like the Avarna or the Panchama people, the untouchables in general. So the subaltern people, the subaltern women and other oppressed classes of the society, the Guru is addressing them as the Naga people, the serpent people. Again, you have that rhetoric in Baba Sahib also. Baba Sahib, in his conversion speech at Nagpur 1956, he talks about the Naga people as the common people, the Dravidians, Naga equal to Dravidian, and Dravidian also to traditional Buddhists. So that is the equation, Naga, Dravidian, Buddhism. That is the equation in Ambedkar. Exactly like that in Narayana Guru, in Pambati Chinda. The little song, Little Lay. Chindu means a lay. You have the Kavadi Chindu. So likewise, you have the Pambati Chindu. In the Little Lay, he is appealing to the people or the subaltern to rise up and speak and enter into representation, enter into political and also cultural forms of representation and resistance and articulation. Through articulation, Padubambe, Adubambe, and Padubambe. He's appealing to the Naga people to rise up and dance and speak and sing. So that kind of, in the traditional way, in the traditional Pambati style, he has articulated it. So that again shows his another key influence of Tamil culture, the Chitta culture, the Pambati Chittar tradition on the Guru. And then Tevara Padigangal, another key work, which was composed again in Nanjinad in a place called Arumanur, Nanjinad, near Neyatingare. You have a place called Arumanur. And in Arumanur, there was a lost and ruined kind of ancient temple. Perhaps it was an ancient vihara of Buddhism. And later it was modified into a Shaivite shrine. And that was also lost by 19th century. So Guru used to come there and he used to salute the deity of Arumanur. And he composed his Tevara Padigangal. Tevaram is used to say, to do the kind of ritualistic kind of traditional acts for the deity. That is what Tevaram is all about. It is related to the Tevar. Tevar means the chief deity, the Devar. So he addressed that particular deity of the ruined temple, and he composed many songs in Tamil. That was done in Tamil because Tamil is the language spoken in that region. South of Neyatingare, Tamil is their language. Now it is in Trivandrum district, but towards the border, close to the Kanyakumari and Tirunelveli districts. That's why. So Tevara Padigangal in plenty of verses are. That's completely in Tamil. Nainar Padigam, plenty of Padigams. Padigams means the stanza form of 10 that is called Pat and Padigam. So it's a typical kind of verse form, stanza form used by the Tamil poets from ancient times onwards, especially in the Shaivite tradition. So he used that Padigam tradition and wrote the Tevara Padigangal in Tamil. Plenty of such Tamil verses are there, written by the Guru. So he used to write poetry in Tamil. So I will read a few lines from Tevara Padigangal. The first Padigam called Nainar Padigam. Nainar means the leader, the lord of that Arumanur, the place. The first Padigam goes like this. Jnanodayame Jnaduruve Namadila Narkadiye Yano Neo Adiparam Yadai Vidumo Pechaye Tenar Tillai Chiradiar Tedum Nada Arumanur. Arumanur is the place. So Tenar Tillai Chiradiar Tedum Nada Arumanur Kone, O King or Lord. Kone Manner Vijipagam Kondai Nainar Nayagame. So this kind of beautiful musical, melodious kind of Tamil versification that he was into in 19th century itself. And also his it goes like that. There are plenty of such padigams. He has written it originally. It is not a translation into Tamil, but it's a direct rendering of poetry in Tamil language in the traditional padigam kind of prosody or metrical form. And there are other, apart from this translations from Tamil into Malayalam, direct Tamil rendering in poetry, he has also translated many Sanskritic verses directly into Tamil. Some slokas of Kalidasa, for example, from the Ganga Ashtagam and all, he has rendered it into Tamil. So plenty of such Tamil kind of slokas. He has re-rendering Sanskrit into Tamil. So a three-language formula was used by the Guru. So he was able to exchange between Tamil, Malayalam and Sanskrit. These were the only three languages he knew. But he was aware of Pali, like Pandidar, but he was not trained in Pali. He was somehow aware of Pali and the importance of English. He never learned English, but he claimed that it is the British who gave him sannyasam. As I mentioned earlier, in 1914, during the First World War, he made that statement. We must pray for the victory of the British because it is the British who gave me the right to education and sagehood. If it was in Ramraj, I would have met the fate of Shambhuga, because in Ramraj, during the time of Rama, the Shudradis, he was not even a Shudra. He was an outcast, an Avarna or Panchama. Because of his Buddhist kind of ancient legacy, exactly like Pandit Ayodhidasa. So he said it, he proclaimed that it is the British. And he never learned, he never got a chance to study the alphabets and English language, but he claimed that it is British who gave him sannyasam. So I will read a Tamil sloka that is recreated by the Guru from Sanskrit. So Kankalattanai, Karodiyattanai, Karipuli Toligalattanai. You have T.M. Krishna now rendering all these things in musical, in beautiful Carnatic Raga style. In Virutham style, you have T.M. Krishna. You can check the internet. T.M. Krishna on sings Narayana Guru. You will get it all. Krishna is now also singing the Pali edicts of Ashoka in Dhamma also. You can also listen to that. So Kangalattanai, Karodiyattanai, Karipuli Toligalattanai, the alliteration and assonance and also the rhyming, the first rhyme and the last rhyming and the rhyming couplets, everything. It's so musical. Tingalin Kalai Vidangal Chirum Aravingalattanai, ചെറിന്തഴും കങ്കൈ നീയും ഇതുപോൽ കണക്കിലൈ നിൻ നീരിൽ മുഴുകുവോ രൗവൻറയും ചങ്കരി തുയരുമാങ്ക് ചമ്പുവിൻ ചരൂപരാകിയതു ചത്യമേ. ചമ്പുവിൻ, that means ശംഭുവിൻ, ചമ്പുവിൻ ചരൂപരാകിയത് ചത്യമേ. Is it truth? So it's a philosophical kind of question also. He's always indulging in playfulness and musical kind of melodious rhyming schemes, and he was able to freely exchange between Sanskrit, Tamil, and Malayalam. So many such verses and instances are there. We cannot go wholly into all those things. Anyway, the core philosophy of the Guru is slightly different from that of Pandit Ayodhidasa. Now we will come into the comparison between Ayodhidasa and Guru. Ayodhidasa, as I told you, is the elder chronologically in historical terms, and the Guru actually he was born 1 decade after Ayodhidasa. And Ayodhidasa officially he embraced Buddhism, and he created the first neo-Buddhist movement in India and pioneered social change and contributed towards the greater renaissance and modernity of Tamilagam, which is a model for all of us even today, which has also been a model even to Ambedkar. Only the pioneering act of Phule and Savitribai, that's what is pre-run. If you can compare it with any other model in India or the world, it is Mahatma Phule, Jyotiba Phule, and Savitribai, and Mr. and Mrs. Sheikh, Salman Sheikh and Sahira Sheikh, who contributed and who collaborated to the pioneering social struggles of the Phules. That's why Phule is often called the pioneer of Indian social revolution. You have plenty of Rosalind Hanson and the late Gail Ombeth and many others, Christoph Jaffrelot and others writing about the Phules. Gopal Guru himself has written about the critique of nationalism in Phule. So like Ayodhidasa rejecting the Hindu Brahminical kind of nationalism, Phule also completely detached himself and critiqued the emerging nationalism as a jingoistic, Brahminical, dominant and hegemonic one, and he advised his followers to de-link from this meta-referential kind of meta-nationalism, because it's going to be a hegemonic Brahminical one. He warned us in early 19th century. So only the model of Phule was there, but we don't know exactly whether during that time Thasa was able to follow the kind of developments in Western Maharashtra, because he was from South India. So anyway, Phule and Jyotiba and Savitribai, they started their schools for Dalit girls in 1840s. So that is the only model. And in Kerala, it is said that it is claimed that Ayya Vaikunthar or Vaikunta Swami or Mudisudum Perumal, Muthukutti Nadar, that was his real name. Muthukutti Nadar or Mudisudum Perumal, he claimed to be an incarnation of Lord Vishnu and a Vaishnavite saint, because he was imprisoned by the Travancore kings. Swati Tirunal imprisoned him and tortured him because he broke the basics of caste, the Varnashrama principles. The caste system was broken defiantly by Ayya Vaikuntha. And that's why he was imprisoned in Shingari Thopu. Now it is in, I think in Tamil country now, the Padmanabhapuram and Shingari Thopu and all those things. He was arrested from Tiruchendur and Swami Thopu, and he was taken to that prison, and he was imprisoned for 141 days and brutally tortured because he was a Siddha. His Chitta tradition actually enabled him to survive that tiger den, a panther den of Swati Tirunal. The torture chamber is called Pulimadai, or the panther den of the Travancore king. The Travancore kings, he called them as the Anantapuri Nichan. Anantapuri means Tiruvanantapuri. It was Tiruvanantapuri, a Buddhist place till the 7th and 8th century. Later it was Vaishnavized. He called the Travancore kings the Anantapuri Nichan. And also he criticized British imperialism as the Velutta Nichan, as the white evil, the white devil or the white evil. He abused the British. He also marked the Travancore king who were practicing this Varnashrama Dharma. It was the regime of Manusmriti. Manusmriti was their, constitution of rule. And they were actually squeezing the taxes, the casteist taxes from the Avarna people. That's in the vault of this Papanava temple there in Travancore. So he was doing this kind of a very critical thing. And later in Guru, what the difference, what you feel is the kind of peaceful and very cultural and spiritual kind of transformation of the anti-caste movement. Ayya was furious and defiant in breaking the laws of caste. So he had to face the wrath of the orthodoxy and the royalty in particular. That's why he was imprisoned. Ayya actually rescued him. He mentioned about it. But in Guru, you find a very polyphonic kind of praxis. It was a pluralistic philosophy and praxis. He was never for a concentration of anything, and he was never for the so-called conversion as such. So he was for changing it all through a peaceful polyphonic transformation. So the compassionate ethics, the more clemency, more patient and compassionate kind of an ethics was developed by Guru, especially in his later works. His earlier works are called as Stotrakriti. They are products of his traditional Kudipal Kudam education and the caste Hindu system of education and learning. So there he wrote many things in praise of the gods and lords. In Hinduism, many things on the Muruga, many things on Shiva, many things on Vishnu and Shakti or the Devi, or Kali also. He has composed certain verses on them. So that is his earlier formative years, his education in the traditional system. That has created the Stotra Kritis, the Stutis of the Hindu gods and goddesses. But in his mature career, in his later career, you find philosophical and truly polyphonic secular kind of writing. That's what you find her. So you find a very peaceful philosophical transformation into a more pluralistic and syncretic and secular, a broader kind of a vision of humanity, greater humanism. Whatever be the caste, the humanity of the human must improve. Manishyanam Manishyatum Jati. That's his core philosophy. So this kind of a more secular articulation in modern Malayalam and also in Sanskrit and also in Tamil, at least in 3 languages, he invariably mixes within Jati Nirnayam and Jati Lakshanam. He has done the determination of caste, refuted caste completely. Punarnu perunnadellam orinam, oru jatiyil ninnallo piranneedunnu santati. That means the human being, the child, the offspring is born from the same species. So it is the same species. He also used the insights of modern sciences and the empirical sciences and the rational kind of thought and the scientific temper also. That's also found in the Guru. So his disciples initiated the first rationalist movement, like Periyar, who divinely unleashed the self-respect movement and the rationalist movement in Tamilagam. He came to, in 1925, Periyar came directly to Vaikam struggle and spoke, and he embraced arrest here in Vaikam because of his respect to the Guru. He came because the Guru was also involved in the struggles in Vaikam indirectly, because it was directly led by T.K. Madhavan and Mulur and K.P. Keshav Menon and others. So this kind of a more pluralistic, broader kind of polyphonic vision you find in the later works of Narayana Guru. And you find the Anugamba Dashakam. That means, Dashakam means like Padigam, 10 verses, 10 stanzas, 10 verses in praise of compassion. That's what Anugamba Dashakam is all about. We also talked about Jiva Karunya Panchakam. That means Panchakam means again Pancham. That means Anj, Aim. Again, number from the Panchashila. I invoke the 5 precepts, the Panchashila from Anj. So in Jivagarunya Panchakam in particular, he talks about the importance of non-violence, ahimsa as the key principle, as the key ethics, ahimsa, paramodhama, as in Sanskrit he says, കൊല്ലുന്നവനില്ല ശരണ്യത, എല്ലാവരും ആത്മസഹോദരരെന്നല്ലേ പറയേണ്ടത് ഇതോർക്കുകിൽ നാം, കൊല്ലുന്നതും എങ്ങനെ ജീവികളെ തെല്ലും കൃപയറ്റ് ഭുജിപ്പവതും. That means if we think as human, if we think as living beings in this world, all are equal brethren. We are all one. We are all equal. That is the Advayavadi Vinayaka. He invoked Amarakosha in Sri Lanka in 1916 to say that mine is also Buddhism, because I am the Advayavadi, the real follower of the Buddha. The Maitri paradigm he developed as, the Maitri of the Buddha was developed as his compassion and his sahodariya. He articulated it as sahodariya, fraternity, greater fraternity, universal. It's not just with the human, but beyond that. That is universal fraternity that can accept anything as oneness, as interdependent. The Samudayavada of the Buddha, Paditya Samutpada or Samudayavada of the Buddha was re-rendered in modern terms as Samudayam, the concept of the community, or Samudayam was created from the Samudayavada or Paditya Samutpada, dependent origination, interdependence of all being, Maitri, Muditva, Upekha, Pratnya, Mahakaruna. Mahakaruna was adopted as Anukampa or compassion. So Anugamba Dashakam, 10 verses in praise of compassion. And Atmopadesha Shatakam, that means 100 verses. 100 verses in the instruction of the self. Muni Narayana Prasad. Muni Narayana Prasad has translated it all into English language. His earlier disciples, Nararaja Guru has translated many things. Then Nitya Yati has translated many things. And now Muni Narayana Prasad has translated many things into English language. It is available from National Book Trust of India. NBT has published that complete verse translations in English by Muni, which you can read. Also, you can have many other translations, even European and Italian translations have emerged now. Not complete ones, but selective words. So, for the popular appeal, for the people who are believers, who are into theology and theistic-centered world, he also wrote many things for their instruction. That is called the Daiva Dashakam, again 10 verses in on the divine, Daiva Dashakam, which is a popular form of prayer song. But only these prayer songs and stotra, these are being studied and discussed widely, not his philosophical and secular and polyphonic work. So especially in the context of current violence, current religious and caste conflicts, you need to study his Jati Nirnayam, Jati Lakshanam, Jati Mimamsa, where he completely refutes Varna and caste, and he proclaims the humanity of the human. If animalness is the caste of animal, Gotvam Gavam, the caste of the human is humanness itself. Manishyanam Manishutvam Jati. That core philosophy is being emulated and elaborated in various songs and compositions by the Guru. So Guru has provided an ethical and polyphonic and secular vision to the modernity, and Renaissance of Kerala and its disciples on various fronts, Sahodaran Ayyappan and Midavadi Krishnan, T.K. Madhavan, Mulur, and Pandit Karuppan. Mulur and Pandit Karuppan, they were the earliest Avarna poets who were accepted, who through their literary battles, they have struggled to carve a niche of their own in the literary public sphere of Kerala in Malayalam literature. So through literary, cultural, political, social activities and transformations and engagements, they have transformed the public sphere of Kerala. And Neo Buddhism was also floated and pushed by the students of Guru, the disciples, lead disciples, Sahodaran and Mitavadi and Sivi Kunjiraman and Mulur. They have also struggled hard to propagate the messages of the Buddha, but it was not a religious movement, so therefore there were no conversions in it, but it contributed to the general understanding and culture of the civil society groups in Kerala, and it has enriched it. But unfortunately, after 100 years or so, all these things have regressed into the primitive again because of the communalization, because of the totalitarian kind of sectarian games. The divide and rule policy is on the rise, and communalism has engulfed many parts of Kerala and India. And even today you have caste atrocities and killings, and brutal so-called honor killings are happening even in Kerala, not just in Tamilagam and other parts of the country. Even in Kerala, which is boasting about this at least 100 years of renaissance in modernity, there are caste atrocities and intimidations and institutionalized forms of violence, and honor killings are also happening here. And also many backlashes, many regressions into the primitive. The recent Vishwasi Lahala or Tindari Lahala, or the so-called Shudra Lahala of Shabarimala has happened, and even constitutional sabotages have happened in Kerala. So our Renaissance culture and modernity are facing severe threats in all over India and also in Kerala. And this is the context to talk and discuss and understand and move ahead and forge ahead and foreground this modernity and Renaissance liberation culture of Tamilagam, and the Tamil legacy, the ancient Changam legacy, the legacy of Pandit Ayodhi Thasa and other luminaries from Tamil Nadu would help us and enlighten us and guide us in times of turbulence. And I hope you will read more of these great scholars, and I hope soon the English translations would be out. And with these humble remarks, let me conclude. I thank Dr. Laura and Dr. Sendilnathan and HRDC Bharatidasan University for this opportunity. Let us have the discussions and comments. Thank you.